Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Welcome back for another edition of the Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Join your host, Bill Alvstad, and co-host, sports writer and football analyst Keith Myers as we talk Seahawks football.
Hey Seahawk fans, welcome back to another edition of the Seahawks Playbook Podcast. I'm sitting down with Keith Myers as usual. I'm Bill Alvstad. Welcome into the show, Keith. Talking wide receivers today.
Yep, talking wide receivers. It's a very interesting group of guys, and it starts right at the very top with DK Metcalf, who is skipping the mandatory workouts while he waits for a new contract.
Yeah, and a little bit of rehab thrown into there. And so who knows if he's actually really completely excused from camp, but I'm sure there's some sort of verbal agreement in place to where he's not going to probably get fined. This has happened in the past with the Seahawks. I saw a little bit of overreaction, if you will, by Rob Staten today as to why the Seahawks failed, to sign DK Metcalf and all that stuff. It's crazy. I mean, they're really close in negotiations. We've known that for quite some time.
Yep.
And this is just a matter of ironing out details and all that kind of stuff, and maybe a couple $1 million here and there because of the wide receiver market has probably gone up since they first started talking about these things. So they might be stuck a little bit, but as we've seen before, most of the time these things sort of get hammered out by the time training camp rolls around at the end of July. I wouldn't be surprised if a situation like this, given the potential size of this contract, could last well into the first week of training camp. I don't see it going to the first game of the season where there's a holdout and all that kind of stuff. And likely this thing gets done in the next couple of weeks, but missing 3 days of mandatory camp is nothing in the larger scheme of things. And quite frankly, when we're talking about this kind of money and this kind of a player, holding out or staying out of camp and protecting yourself a little bit, given the fact that he probably wouldn't be participating anyway, given the rehab situation that he's in, is a pretty smart and prudent move.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you got to look at in a situation like this is nobody needs this to happen today. Despite everyone, like the fans, want it done, Metcalf doesn't need this to happen until right before training camp. The Seahawks don't need this to happen until right before training camp, right? All of that, all the guaranteed money in a contract has to go into escrow. So even if it's not paid up front, it's like, guaranteed over 2 years. Well, an owner's got to go then drop, 25 to 50 million on a contract this size into escrow. They don't want to do that until they absolutely have to. And so these things do tend to drag. And my guess is it doesn't happen until the end of July, the week before training camp starts. So
let's back up just a hair, just in case somebody is not out there paying attention to all this kind of stuff in the offseason and just kind of catching this show. DK Metcalf still has a year remaining on his rookie deal. He was drafted in the second round, so it was a 4-year deal. He's had 3 years in the league. This is coming up on his final year of his rookie deal. This is, though, the time when teams look at their premier players as far as being able to extend them and wanting to extend them. And so why don't you run through that a little bit as to why this sort of thing happens in the first place?
Well, yeah, I mean, it comes down to they're in a situation now where nobody wants this to go through this year. The team doesn't, because they don't want to get into a situation where he is at the end of his contract and they're looking at, having to use the franchise tag or that kind of stuff. And there's so much uncertainty with the way the market for wide receivers has jumped so much recently. They don't want to be there watching it jump multiple times between now and then. They would prefer to get this done now. And for Metcalf, I mean, he's looking at, if he goes out this season and, blows out a knee, he could cost himself, $50, $75 million, if he doesn't get a new deal right now. So for him, he wants it right now so that he knows he's got that, that
Guaranteed money.
Stability and guaranteed money before he goes out there and starts putting, his health on the line again. And so it just kind of works out for everyone where both sides want it done and they'll get there. It's just the market's changed quite a bit. When this process began late last season, he was looking at 18 to 20 million.
And you've kind of been there, throughout the process up until, the free agency this year.
Yeah.
You were kind of there too, thinking maybe they could squeeze him in, or if they signed him right after the season ended, like they've done for a few guys, Michael Bennett comes to mind, then maybe that would have been true. But after that free agency situation, frenzy,
Tyreek
really.
Hill and Adams, and just the way that the market changed, and 18 to 20 million is no longer going to put you near the top of the wide receiver pay scale. Now you're looking at 25 million. It's going to, and
even 25 million is just top 5, top 6.
Yeah,
we're not talking about number one. Number one is Javonte Adams at 28 million per year. We're talking 25. So I know these numbers are ridiculous and they're hard to justify for normal fans and just going, what in the heck is going on? But this is where the market is. You have to understand too, the idea of all of the media money coming into the league in the next 2 or 3 years really balloons these things. You're going to see guys, linebackers, safeties, running backs, tight ends, you name it. All those figures that you've been used to seeing for the last 4 or 5, 6 years are literally going to double, in the next 5 years, probably.
Yeah, because the amount of money, the salary cap is gonna balloon from right now. It's just over 200 million. It's going to get to close to 300 million over the next couple of years, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to see the salaries go with it, and because it really comes down to, it's not the number so much as it is as the percent of the cap, and so guys are trying to get paid because they want their piece of that pie, and I don't blame them for going out and getting it. And
this is an entertainment business. This is the price of entertainment. It just is. It's not like it's a regular job. These aren't regular jobs. They just aren't. This is part of a public situation in a very public team that's got a huge owner. There's tons and tons of money available in these media deals, and this is just the way it is. And these are as a society. So this is kind of what happens in these NFL franchises, baseball, basketball, you name it. It's just all over the place.
I will say that what's going to happen is you're going to see that this deal, whatever it ends up being, he'll get a big signing bonus, but that cap space is prorated over 5 years, assuming it's a 5-year contract, and the Seahawks are currently sitting with 46 million in dead cap.
Yes, right.
Space. 26 million of that is Russell Wilson. And that 46 million is going to come off the books at the end of the year. And so the fact that Metcalf's cap number is going to, jump up by 20 million isn't going to replace anyone that's currently on the roster, because what it's going to do is it's going to cut into that 46 million of cap space that's clearing off the books just in dead money. And so that's where that's going to come from. And so they have the space to do this.
What did you think of the Shelby Harris rework of a contract today? What happened there?
Well, he took a pay cut, is really what it comes down to. Because he's in the last year.
They shifted more of it into his bonus, I thought.
Well, he's in the last year of his contract, so there's not really shifting it into a bonus doesn't change anything.
No.
And so because he's, shifted into a bonus, you take that money that's shifted and you prorate it over the years that are left. But since he's in the final year, that doesn't change anything. So for them to get the cap relief, he actually took a pay cut. And I thought that was interesting.
How do you figure that, Keith? Talk to me about that. Tell me how that shows up on like Over the Cap or whatever, wherever you normally look at contracts.
What do you mean?
Like how do you figure that he actually gave up money when they just shifted money from base salary to bonus money? How does that take money away from him? They
didn't just shift money from base salary to bonus money. my understanding was that his cap number was dropped by what was it, about $3 million. And since he's in the final year of his contract, the only way to do that is to actually take that money out of his salary. And so that his take home this year went down simply by him taking a pay cut. And part of doing that was giving him a bunch of money right now, which essentially guarantees. It's like basically giving him guaranteed salary, so he knows. So
he only had 1 year left, right?
Yeah.
So now he's under contract in 2023 as well.
Oh, so they did add a year.
Yeah. No, I wasn't familiar with the deals, but I just clicked on here. So he's got a cap charge this year of 4.7 million, and next year it's 12.1. And if they want money, cap savings relief, they could post-June cut him and save $9 million. While only eating dead money of 3.1.
So they did extend him. See, and that was the part that I missed, because I'm like, he's in the last year of his deal. All they did was, they made some money guaranteed in order to convince him to take the pay cut. But if they added a year, then that shift of money into bonus creates cap space, because it takes whatever. Now there's 2 years of the deal, so that whatever money they shifted it from salary into bonus, half of that gets pushed out a year, and so they get half of that money as cap space available this year. The fact that they've done that and given themselves, so now they're up to where they sit about 17 million in
they
cap
are
space.
At 17. Yeah. 17.
And so what that does is you're like, okay, why would you do that now if you don't really need the money, don't really need the cap space? Well, all you're doing is you're pushing it into next year. Like what's going on with that? Well, what that tells you is that they know they're going to need it, that there is a contract coming with someone,
or a trade.
Well, most likely it's, well, you're right. It could be a trade. It could be like a Baker Mayfield type of situation where they go and they bring someone in that way. But it's also possible that they're like, okay, we're going to get this done with Metcalf, and in order to do that, we have to fit his new contract under the cap. And so they are going to need this cap space. And so they're just going ahead and getting it taken care of now. So that way.
Yeah. So, basically they still want, after everything is done, they're still going to want $7 million in cap space after that deal is done, just for reserves and injured reserves, et cetera. So they're at 17 now. DK Metcalf's at 4.3 against the cap now. So you could add another, 9 or 10, and you could still be kind of where you need to be. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do a deal where he's got like a $12 to $13 million cap hit in 2022, and then it escalates from there. But they've got this rookie money deal to work with, which helps them out a little bit in their first year. Yeah,
because Metcalf's current cap number going into this next year is 4.3 million, and so like I said before, if you give him, let's say it's a $25 million signing bonus over 5 years. Well, that's going to increase his cap number by $5 million. And so you need to have that, plus anything that you also add as far as his base salary on top of that. So having, around $10 million to play with to help get Metcalf's new deal it helps out. And so that's why I think this move happened. I don't think it has much to do with a trade for a Baker Mayfield type, just simply because it doesn't that doesn't really help the team any, and they would have to then make other moves in order to get the salary cap situation ready.
And it sounds like Seattle's not even interested in Baker Mayfield unless he comes cut, and no salary attached to that whatsoever. So Bob Condotta came out and just said, basically they did this. It is likely there's some other move, but he said that they've got some time. They wanted to get this done before the mini camp was over, because players take off, and it's much easier to do a deal when somebody is here to sign it. And so they went ahead and did it now, but they've got some flexibility before training camp to do whatever deal is lined up. So,
yeah, I'm also looking, if the team decides it needs additional cap savings, they can get that. Chris Carson, we talked about on our last show, could be cut and save $3.1 million. And their like Poona Ford's deal could be reworked in a way where they push the cap hit out into later years in order to generate. They can do that. Could generate about $4 million by changing his base salary over. So there's additional cap room to be had if they decide they need it.
Agreed. Okay, so let's put all the contract stuff aside and let's just talk about the player. What are your expectations for DK Metcalf, given the quarterback situation, but yet improvement around the rest of the roster? You've got Noah Fant in now. You've possibly upgraded the offensive line, although that may take a little bit of time, and possibly the running back position that kind of makes it easier to run effectively. How does that impact DK Metcalf this year when his numbers last year were down from the previous year?
Well, his numbers were down from the previous year because Wilson got hurt and missed a few games and then was terrible for a few games while they waited out, him to finish healing. And that cut into DK Metcalf's productivity. It's not like he became a worse player, right? I mean, it's the team around him.
I mean, he had 12 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards receiving on 75 catches. So
yeah, and that's a down year for him.
That's a down year.
So if you're looking at productivity, I expect his numbers to go down again this year, and that's going to be entirely just because of the lack of quarterback play. They're not going to take advantage.
Is that because you think he's more dependent on the long ball than anybody else on the roster, or do you think that Shane Waldron is going to make the adjustments and have him work more in open space underneath?
I mean, it's not so much that he's dependent on it; he's just really good at it. And you have, though there were those big plays that happened because he got open and Wilson got him the ball that now are going to be, well, he might get open, but Drew Lock's not going to get him the ball. And so there's going to be yards left on the field for Metcalf where he just doesn't have the quarterback play. There's going to be situations where, his numbers are lower because the tight ends are getting a lot of catches because everything is a check down. Yeah. And that's going to hurt his productivity, but he's still a, major threat. He's still one of the top receivers in the entire NFL. And I expect, his numbers are going to be, 900 yards, 70 catches or 65, something like that, 10 touchdowns. I mean, those are down from last year, which were down from the year before, but that has more to do with the quarterback play than it does him. And I've heard, in fact, one of the local radio guys was saying that there's no reason why you should pay DK Metcalf if you don't have a quarterback to get him the ball. And I think that particular line of thought is kind of stupid, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. And I'll have to disagree with you slightly. And I'll probably do this throughout the summer. And that's just the way it's going to be. And we can talk about it a little bit. But I disagree with your premise a little bit that his touches are going to go down and his opportunities are going to go down and his yards are going to go down. I think everything goes up for him, actually. I think the offense is designed to run more efficiently with these two quarterbacks, whether it's Geno Smith or Drew Lock. And quite frankly, Drew Lock can have a mediocre season, league average, let's just say. He has a league average year. Let's just say it's 3,800 yards, maybe 4,000 yards. His completion percentage is close to 64% or whatever. Not, down from Russell Wilson, but not like huge. He's got more interceptions, but he's still throwing for the yards. That's why I still think DK Metcalf has the potential to get, closer to 90 receptions as opposed to closer to 70 receptions, closer to 1,200 yards as opposed to closer to 700 or to 1,000. I just see that for Metcalf. I really do.
I don't know. We see that. You see it across the league when a quarterback gets hurt or, leaves and retires and you have a lesser quarterback, the wide receivers numbers go down. They don't go up. And that's why I expect Metcalf's numbers to go down. I mean, I just don't expect Drew Lock to be as good at getting Metcalf the ball as Russell Wilson was. So
Yeah, I mean, arguments can be made for that as well. No doubt about it. I just think that, last year when you look at it, Russell Wilson, even when in the first 8 weeks before his injury, he wasn't completely like he should have been under that new offense. It just wasn't operating on all cylinders. And then when he got hurt, in addition to the 2.5, 3 games he was out, he had another 2 or 3 games where he was struggling. And so
he looked
you look
bad.
at like 6 games in there, 7 games overall, where there's just no productivity. DK Metcalf hardly caught the ball at all. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Those 3 games without Russell Wilson and Metcalf had no productivity. That is Geno Smith. That's the primary option for who's going to take over.
And the offense was completely sputtering at that point. We had no run game. Everybody was playing back. They had light boxes. We still weren't running, and so it was challenging. It was challenging.
Without Wilson, Metcalf had no productivity, and you're expecting that same quarterback to now be more productive.
I am, and the reason for that is because I'm anticipating a little bit more efficiency in this offense, and the way that the offense is actually schemed and designed to run most effectively suits a quarterback like Drew Lock better than it does Russell Wilson. And because of that, I'm not saying that Drew Lock's the better quarterback or anything like that. I'm just saying in this particular system, if you look at it like a Jared Goff situation, and I don't like Jared Goff, and you know that, but if you look at it like that, I'm just saying that we will more than likely dink and dunk our way down the field this year, as opposed to throwing those long balls. And Shane Waldron will figure out a way to get DK Metcalf the ball. I just think that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's optimistic. I get it. I'm an optimist about this.
Extremely optimistic.
But I don't think it's completely out of the question. I really don't. I'm just trying to be honest, and you have legit arguments against that. I get that. I'm just looking at the optimistic side of what they're really trying to do. And if they are successful at it, I think it works out.
So should we talk about what this DK Metcalf contract is going to look like? Because you and I have both mentioned, 25, 26 million as is kind of where we expect it to be, because the market's changed. But what does that look like? Why is that the number? Can we go through and with that?
Well, I think there's 2 reasons for me. Number one, DK Metcalf's age. He's 24. He won't be 25 until next year. So he's a 24-year-old player coming off of his first contract. He's exceeded expectations. If you go look at his career average stats, he's a top 10 wide receiver. And anytime you're in the top 10 conversation as a wide receiver, when your contract comes up, you're going to be close to setting the market. It's just the way it is. It's the way that the market has dictated for the last 10 years or so. And so when DK comes up, he's going to be in the conversation to be at least top 5. And when you're at top 5, that means you're going to make 25 APY average per year. And so you're going to be in that conversation, whether it's 24 or 26. And it just depends on the years now. Is it 4 years or is it 5 years? How much of it is guaranteed? So that, to me, that's the parameters. So
you sent me a thing today that said 5 years, 130 million, 70 million guaranteed. Do you think that's realistic, high, too low?
Your immediate reaction to that was, wow, too high. And I was thinking, when I sent it to you, I was thinking, wow, too high. And then we started talking a little bit, and we both kind of ended in the idea that, yeah, you pay him.
That's kind of where the market is. Well, and the reason,
right.
So the reason for those last couple of questions is I kind of got started on this, and then we backed up to Metcalf's production again. You don't have a quarterback to get him the ball. Is he worth $27 million a year when you don't have a quarterback?
And what was your point that you made to me as we kind of ended the conversation?
When this team's ready to compete, he's only 25 or 24. He'll be 25 here soon. When this team's ready to compete, whether it be next year, the year after that, or even the year after that, he's still going to be in his prime.
And I think that's the key, Keith, right there. I mean, you nailed it right there. And that's why you pay him. That's why you keep him. You go through this year, everybody's going to have in the same boat. It's his numbers up, his contract's coming up. It doesn't mean you don't pay him because you don't have the guy in place right now that you think is going to be optimized to get him the ball. You put him in place because he's a key component of the team that you want to take forward.
If Metcalf was 29, in that range age-wise, and you look like, okay, by the time this team is ready to compete, he's going to be 31, 32. And now he's on that downswing where he's not going to be, his cap number keeps going up, but his productivity and ability is going down. And you go, yeah, maybe this is when you trade him, but he is 24.
Yeah. And he hasn't even reached the pinnacle yet.
No, he's not even close. He's still got 3 years before he gets there.
At least 3.
And that's why you pay him.
I agree.
That's why you pay him. It's why you keep him.
I agree. And I don't think, you look at Tyler Lockett's contract, what was it, 18? Tyler Lockett's contract's a bargain. Look at his productivity and his consistency over a long period of time. 4 years, his last 4 years, he's almost at 1,000 yards or over 1,000 yards. The numbers, are approaching 100 catches and so forth. He's extremely efficient. He doesn't drop balls. So anything that's targeted to him, that's in his grasp, he's going to get. He moves the chains. So the pairing him with Tyler Lockett, I think, is the best opportunity for Seattle to win in the future. You take a look at the importance of the wide receiver position group and how it's elevated over the course of the last 10 years. The running back situation has diminished. You got to have 2 guys at the top that are premier. And if you want your team to be next level, and just because we're missing that quarterback piece right now doesn't mean we're not going to have it, within the next 2 years.
Yeah, my biggest concern with Lockett is that he's 20. He is 29, right? Remember, that's what I just said about Metcalf. How old is he going to be when this team's ready to go compete for a championship?
You're going to have to cross that bridge. You just are. You hope that you can develop Eskridge to kind of fill that role over, the next couple of years. And when Tyler Lockett's contract comes up next time, we'll have to figure out where he's at. Is he diminishing? Is he getting older? Is he missing games because of injury and so forth? It likely wouldn't be a 4-year deal on his next contract. It would probably be a 2-year deal if he stays with the team, or he's going to be gone.
Yeah. So behind our big two, those 2 starters, you mentioned Eskridge and Freddie Swain. They're the only guys left on this roster that have experience in NFL games. Freddie Swain looked surprisingly good last year as the number 3 option. And Eskridge is the guy that has all the talent in the world, but couldn't stay healthy and stay on the field much. And so he is still kind of an unknown.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the list.
I'm still excited about it. I'm still excited about this wide receiver room, even though those guys have really yet to kind of prove themselves. Now, Freddie Swain, you can say, well, at least I could say, we may have seen kind of where Freddie Swain is going to be as a pro now. He's going to be that guy that has 25, 30 catches a year, 4 touchdowns, and some clutch plays on 3rd down and so forth, and some surprise plays that come up once in a while because he's single covered. Eskridge, however, is a different type of player. Eskridge is a guy that's going to be able to operate in space for you. He's a home run threat anytime he catches the ball. He just hasn't had that opportunity yet. Yet last year he came in with a little toe injury. He had in minicamp, came in to regular camp in July and wasn't ready. And so he didn't get any of the reps. He came into the season in the first game. At the end of that game, ended up with that major concussion, kept him out for the additional 7 games after that. And it took him a while to even work in. So he ended the year with 12 or 15 catches or whatever and a couple runs, and really just no productivity whatsoever. So we really don't know what he looks like. He didn't get the ball in space last year, so we didn't even see any electricity from him at all. But it's there. He's got it. You go back and look at that tape from South Dakota State. He was just, or Western Michigan. He was just electric, and that's why they drafted him. And he's still that player. And so Shane Waldron's got himself a nice little piece there. And I think this year he just really explodes.
One of the things when I was looking at everything, getting ready for this show, that surprised me is that Eskridge, who has had 1 year of barely playing, is older than DK Metcalf.
Yeah. I know. Oh, that was one of the rubs about Eskridge coming out. And I think he fell just a little bit in that draft just because of the age factor. Yeah, and DK was crazy. I think, 21 years old or 20 when he was drafted?
Mm-hmm.
That's highly unusual. But yeah, Eskridge is kind of league average right now for a second-year player, maybe a year older than normal. What do you think about Freddie Swain, Keith?
I mean, he's never going to be, a star. But he was really steady. He caught the ball. He got open. He got separation. I think, saying he's 25 catches a year is underselling him a little bit. I think 40, 45 is where he, his ceiling is and where we're going to see him once this offense is really rolling, because he was very steady with his ability to catch the ball. He didn't drop things. He created separation. He just did a lot of the little things. He was a chain mover. And I know we're talking a lot about age, but he's only 23 right now. Mm-hmm. He also was extremely young when he was drafted. And so he's still improving. To say that we're seeing who he's going to be, and that's all, he's reached kind of his ceiling. I don't think that's true. I mean, not one of your guys out.
I think that to your point about the opportunity to catch 40 balls a game or a year with Freddie Swain. Okay, I accept that. You got to look at last year's offense. Last year's offense was crazy and inefficient. I mean, how many 3-and-outs did we have? We killed ourselves on drives. We couldn't sustain anything. That's why DK Metcalf's numbers were down, et cetera, including the injury. But beyond that, we just didn't have as many offensive plays. You take a look at the average time of possession last year; it was horrendous in favor of the opposing team, and our defense was on the field constantly. And so, if we can somehow reverse that, Keith,
it wasn't just that the defense was on the field constantly; the defense couldn't get off the field.
That as well.
It's not. It's not all on how inefficient the offense was. The defense simply couldn't get stop.
You're right. And so that needs to change in order for guys like Eskridge and Freddie Swain to be able to have opportunities, and DK Metcalf to potentially get to 100 receptions. You can't do that if you're operating that way. The other player I want to talk about before the draft picks is Marquise Goodwin. We picked up Marquise Goodwin in just a few weeks ago as kind of an add-on, a guy with speed. It's been known to have speed for a while. He's been in the league for 9 years. He's 31 years old. He's 5'9", 179. He's not going to be, your number one wide receiver out on the edge, but he is going to compete for that slot spot that we've got, that we think Eskridge is going to be involved with and so forth. What do you think of the Marquise Goodwin signing? Do you think he has a legit shot to stick on the roster, or do you think this was just a veteran filler move that they sometimes make in the offseason?
I think it was a veteran filler move that he needs injuries to happen in order to make the roster, because yes, he does have speed at 5'9", 179. He doesn't have the size to really take advantage of it. He's going to be out-lengthed by any cornerback that's covering him. And at 31, he doesn't have that speed that he did, if you're looking at his combine numbers. Whereas a guy like Penny Hart, who's been with the team for a couple of years, knows the offense, is only 25, and they're the same player. Same size, same ability to get deep, but lacking, any kind of length whatsoever. So I just think that Penny Hart's got the inside track on that spot, and a guy like Goodwin is basically hoping somebody gets hurt for him to make the roster.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about the other guys, and then we can see if maybe Marquise Goodwin fits in there or not. A couple of guys that they drafted, Keith. Beau Melton out of Rutgers. I'm hearing good things about him in camp. They really like him. 5'11", 191, age 23. He's got the ability to do the run after catch stuff. He's got the ability to do some of the jet sweep things. I think he ran a 4.38 or 4.39 40. And Derek Young.
Kind of a wide receiver with a running back body. And not really in terms of at 191, you're like, okay, he's not going to play running back, but he has that like lower center of gravity, stocky leg kind of build that you'd expect from a running back. But at 191, he plays receiver. And so he's a guy that they will want to get the ball on jet sweeps or get him on the screen play, something short, let him do some work after they get the ball in his hands, because he has the ability to do some really special things out in the open field.
Yeah, who's the Senior Bowl director guy? Nagy. Nagy came on like ESPN radio here in Seattle a week ago or so, and mentioned Beau Melton as being a guy that he thought was a great steal for the Seahawks in the 7th round or the 6th round, wherever he went. And he felt like he was going to go in the 4th or 5th round. And just because he went to Rutgers and so forth, and his production wasn't good there, he thought he fell. But talent-wise, he was at the Senior Bowl, thought he was a special player. And then Derek Young out of Lenoir-Rhyne, 6'2", 224 pounds, is kind of an interesting guy for me. They brought him in early in the pre-draft process as one of their 30 visits, and they went ahead and drafted him. That tells you a lot about the way that they like him. And so I'm interested to see if he turns out at all. You haven't really wasted you haven't wasted your picks picking these guys at this spot in the draft. And if they can turn out, even one of them turns out and ends up being a great special teams player for a couple of years while he develops, that's a good pick.
Well, and at 6'2", 224, I mean, he's got that, he's got the size, right? He's he's tall, but he's also got, kind of that build where he can go be a gunner on special teams, or if he does get on the field on the offense, where he can be that deep threat for you, and kind of take where Metcalf doesn't have to be that deep threat on every play. Like you can have Metcalf do more things simply because you've got a guy like Young out there who has those measurables to put that same pressure on the defense.
So after that, Keith, we've just got a bunch of guys. Penny Hart, you can make a little case for Penny Hart. He's been up on the roster a couple different times in the last couple of years from Georgia State, 5'8", 180. To me, he's just a guy. I mean, he really didn't show tremendous burst or tremendous ability to like be lightning in a bottle or anything like that. I know that they like him just because he's a consummate pro. He works hard in practice. He's a good practice player and all that kind of stuff. Aaron Fuller, Cade Johnson, a little bit of interest on Cade Johnson. We could talk about that. Cody Thompson, Deontez Alexander is a guy that they picked up in the offseason out of a college called Franklin College of Indiana. I kid you not, that's the first time I've ever heard of that college, and I've been following football for my entire life. And then Kevin Casas, Montana State, as a rookie free agent pickup. He's 6 foot 197.
Yeah. A couple things that I like, because it feels like Cade Thompson's been around.
Cade Johnson.
Or not. Cody Thompson has been around this team forever, but he's technically got 1 year of experience, but he's 26.
Yes.
He's an older prospect, and I think he's kind of getting to that point where if he doesn't make the team this year, he is probably out of chances, because you've got a guy like Cade Johnson, who they picked up last year as an undrafted guy who was a draftable talent. I mean, it was quite unexpected that he went undrafted, but they were able to get him, and he's there kind of going to be pushing for a roster spot this year. And so if Cody Thompson doesn't get that roster spot, I could see them moving on and not even having him on the practice squad, because you've got guys like Cade Johnson hanging around and they're ready to like take that spot for him.
Is there anything that you can look at on this entire room about size, height, weight, speed that gives you any indication as to what they try to do, what they want to try to do as a complete roster?
I don't know. One of the things that I do like about the way they've got this roster put together is that they've got different skill sets. They've got different prototypes, right? You've got the Metcalf and the Young, and even Cody Thompson that are, 6'4", 6'2", 6'2". But you've also got a bunch of guys that are like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" that are slot guys. And then you've got, the Freddie Swain and the Beau Melton group that are right around 6 foot. So you've got three different kind of archetypes. It doesn't seem like they're pigeonholed in, we need this particular kind of receiver, the way that Mike Holmgren used to do, where he had a type, and anyone that wasn't part of that type just had no business being on his roster. They have a very diverse group of talent, and I think they're ready to take advantage of each of those types as, in different roles within the offense. And they're not going to be like, oh, everyone has to do everything, because, why are you asking your 5'8" guy to do the same things that you'd be asking DK Metcalf to do at 6'4"? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Okay. So last couple of questions. If you had to pick 5 out of this list to be on the final roster, who would they be? And what does success look like to you this year out of this group?
So my 5 are going to be obviously Metcalf, Lockett, Eskridge, and Swain. That's the 4. And then if I'm going to pick another one, I'm probably going to go Beau Melton, because I think he offers, as a punt returner, that he's, offers the ability to be a really good player there and a special teams contributor. I think 6th would be Derek Young. And his ability to be a gunner and contribute on special teams that way. As far as expectations from this group, honestly, so much of it depends on quarterback play, and even like how quickly the 2 new offensive tackles acclimate to the NFL from switching from college. And if they can get those guys up to speed and the quarterback play isn't completely incompetent, this is a pretty good group. I mean, they're 4 deep at the start, and then you got a bunch of talent that doesn't need to come in and contribute right away. They can develop these people properly over time. The guys like Beau Melton and Derek Young. So I think that there's a lot of talent here. I'm with you in the excitement for this group, but part of the reason why it works is because you have Metcalf and Lockett at the top. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have one of those guys and you're looking at this group, you'd be like, wow, this team's hurting for wide receivers. Mm-hmm. So those 2 guys better not get hurt. They've got to stay healthy.
And that's true for most teams. I'm going to bring you back to this multiple times probably before the season. So when you look at Shane Waldron and you look about what they want to do as an offense, how they want to operate the offense and so forth, and you take a look at our 2 quarterbacks, is there an opportunity for somebody to really step up this year in a way that we're maybe not anticipating?
Noah Fant. None of
so you went outside of this group. Not even
I went outside of this group. No. Eskridge is going to get opportunities. He's obviously going to do more than he did last year, which was next to nothing. But he's going to have the opportunity because he's such a dynamic athlete, and his start stop ability and his speed and all those things. Like, he's going to do exciting things. So I'm expecting him to kind of break out a little bit. But overall, if anyone is going to benefit from the downgrade in quarterback that the Seahawks have done, it's going to be the tight ends. It's going to be because Wilson was really, really good at getting the ball outside to his receivers. One of the absolute best, but he was genuinely not good at getting the ball to his tight ends and in the middle of the field and underneath and those kind of things. That's just not who he was. And now when they go to a check down, dink and dunk, whatever, the tight ends are going to explode because they're going to get way more opportunities. And I think that's going to cost the wide receivers a lot of opportunities. And that's why I say Noah Fant's going to be the breakout guy.
I agree with you on Noah Fant, no doubt. I also think that your same argument can be said to set up Eskridge to have a monster year as well. When you talk about checkdowns, you talk about slot inside receivers taking advantage of the middle open space and so forth. He's primed to be able to do that as well, and he can feed off some of that Noah Fant energy that's going on. Noah Fant's going to pull maybe a safety and a linebacker together, and Eskridge can kind of come underneath a little bit. That's, who knows how this is going to play out. I'm just saying a guy like Eskridge in this offense has an opportunity. I think that's understated a little bit. Cool. Nice list. I like it. I mean, 1 through 6 or 7, there's an opportunity there for some guys. The team has kept as little as 4 wide receivers in the past. I don't know with this group if you can do anything less than 5. but it really depends on how many offensive linemen, how many running backs, and how many tight ends they keep on the roster too. So we'll see. We'll make up. We'll have a roster show towards the end of training camp. We'll try to figure it all out. But I like this room. I think it's kind of dynamic. I haven't really kind of been this excited about the 5th, 6th, 7th guys to find out who they are, what they can do, how they can add to the mix in quite a while. So, all right. Anything else?
No, that's it. Let's get out of here. Call this a show, and we'll be back next time.
Yeah, excellent. Find Keith on Twitter, Myers NFL. Find me at NW Seahawk. You can find the show on your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and share it. Thanks. Take care. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk. Keith is at Myers NFL. And the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.